Sometimes I really do have to wonder why I bother with some of the things that I do. There's no way this works, having been pilfered off of a scrap pile at my place of work. Stuff like this, if it ends up on that pile, it is guaranteed to be broken, especially, something as expensive as this. This would have been somewhere around $4,000 brand new. Some of you may have actually seen these. You may even recognize the Sympodium logo on the front and all of the buttons. Maybe even that logo right there. You may recognize that. It's pretty straightforward. This is a smart Sympodium ID350. It's basically a smart board and a display. So we'll go ahead and we'll flip it around here. Have a look at the back. It's impressively heavy. I think that if I put this on my kitchen scale, I'd break it. So we won't do that. Here we can see exactly what it is. Let's get some focus on that. Maybe we'll get some focus on that. Manufactured April of 2008. There's a serial number. There we can see the power specifications. More on that later. Now, you'll have to forgive me. I don't actually know a whole lot about these, even though I'm a member of the IT department. The installation, maintenance, and decommissioning of stuff like this falls under classroom technologies and is dealt with by another department. So, I don't have anything to do with these. All I know is that it ended up in a scrap pile, and I thought, hey, I'll take that home and I'll make a video about that. That ought to be interesting. We'll tear it apart and have a look at that. You can see a USB port on it. This has got a USB hub built in as well. It's really full-featured. I believe in Wacom's product lineup, this would be most closely related to the Cintiq 15X. It's a 15-inch display. It's got a Wacom, basically a glorified Wacom tablet on the front. Can't really think of much else to say, other than the fact that these things are pretty well universally panned as being garbage. The display panel is not that great. It's only a TN display panel, although that's not really that big of a deal to me. But a lot of people say that the display panel is crap. It is not compatible with the Wacom drivers, which is a big inconvenience. You need to use the smart drivers, which I do have. And I have installed those before, so I know that kind of detail, but I don't know any of the technical aspects of these things. I don't know for sure. I'm going to assume not, that you can use this as a touch screen. I don't believe it supports that, but I'm sure somebody will come by in the comments and tell me I'm an idiot for making such a wrong statement, on the internet no less. I'm not sure entirely what this would have been used for, other than maybe secondary storage for the pen. It's a little thing that slides down. The pen ordinarily would go up at the top, right here. And I don't have any of the pens with these, so I guess if it's not a touchscreen, I can't use any of the touchscreen capabilities. And that's even assuming that it works, which I can just about guarantee you that it does not. You don't have a stand, although that wouldn't really be that big of a deal, because this is a standard VESA mount, as far as I know. So you can just put any standard monitor stand on there. No big deal. Looks like we're missing a couple screws. Actually, looks like we're missing quite a few screws. 1, 2, 3, 4 screws missing. So somebody obviously had this apart. Couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. We got USB here. That's pretty obvious. That's both for the USB hub and also the touchscreen functionality. There's our DC input, 12 volt center pin positive. We have a video out and a video in, both VGA, so this is analog only. What you do is this is the computer input, which would take the input from the video card, display it on the monitor, and this would go to a projector, which would then project onto some kind of a screen. There's just one major problem. As mentioned, this thing needs 12 volts, that's 3.3 amps. And I don't have anything that even comes close to that. In fact, the only power supply that I'm aware of anyway, that puts out 12 volts that would even come close to working with this thing, is this universal power supply, which you can see 12 volts is as high as it goes, but it can only put out a maximum of 1.5 amps on the 12 volt scale. So that's less than half of what this thing needs. So I'd imagine that using that power supply is going to go real well. But you know what? You only live once, and I like to live dangerously, so that is exactly what we are going to do. I'm getting goosebumps. There's no avoiding it. Plug her in. Make sure it's set for 12 volts. Well, the power supply didn't instantly explode. But we didn't get any life out of this yet. Now, let's see. Let's try hitting the power switch. Ooh. We get an orange light. Cable disconnect. Go to power save. I don't believe it. It actually comes on. Wow. That's impressive. What happens if we push a button on it? Hold on to nothing. You bring up the menu? Well, I guess it has to be turned on in order to do that. Well, let's go ahead and plug it into something. And I got this piece of crap turning on. Man, the zoom motor on this camcorder sounds awful. Got everything plugged in, and it looks like it's even identifying that there's a monitor hooked up because it is in a really crappy resolution. I got a mouse hooked up to the computer because I know the trackpad doesn't work on that. If it blows this computer up, I don't really care because this thing's a piece of junk. But let's go ahead and fire her up. Wow, that is terrible. You got some hiss going on. Whoa. Okay, yeah, no, that is not doing what it's supposed to do. I wish this thing would actually work. That would be nice. Well, okay, it doesn't look impressively awful. Well, actually, yeah, it does. Wow. That must be why it was thrown out. Contrast is all the way up. Brightness is all the way up. That's the phase, it's the pitch. Auto adjust. That just made it worse. So the horizontal positioning is off now. I could tell where it's supposed to be, approximately. That does not look very good. But you know what? I'm going to see, go to my NAS, if I can't even go to my NAS, to find the smart driver. And we'll try and install the driver. Okay, so here we go. Here's the driver. So we'll go ahead and install that. Man, that's awful. I can't even imagine that this is going to work at all. Okay, well, it's installed now. So click on finish. It'll probably ask me to reboot. It didn't ask me to reboot. That's a surprise. I probably should anyway. This hasn't got any better as it's warmed up. So, but it also hasn't got any worse, which is interesting. It almost suggests to me that the problem lies with the power supply, which is actually getting kind of warm down here. It smells kind of warm too. So I'm sure that this thing is probably going to explode in a few minutes. Hopefully not in flames, because that would suck. Okay. Let's go to wherever it's put its thing now. Smart Technologies. If I remember right, it's under... Oops. Shiznit. That was not what I wanted. Under Tools. Let's see. I think it's under the settings thing. Yes. No smart boards are connected. Okay. Let's go to the connection wizard. Oops. Well, it's plugged in via USB, so unless this USB cable is junk, I don't know. Click on next. Here we go, ID350. Make sure that it's not longer than, oh, whatever, that doesn't matter. That doesn't make any difference at all. Reset the cable connection, whatever. Nah, didn't work. No surprise. Let's try again. Nope. Okay, so I'm going to reboot, and we'll see if it actually works then. Okay, after a reboot, let's go ahead and try that again. Somehow or another, I don't... Stop that, you piece of junk. I hate this computer. It's such a piece of junk. Go to the connection wizard. And... what do we have? Nothing! Yeah. What a surprise. So that one doesn't work. I don't know if it's because the power supply does not provide enough oomph to get this one going, or if this one's just broken. But I don't have just one of these things. You may have seen them, caught a glimpse of them out there in the corner. I've got 3 of them. So let's just grab another one and try that one. This is another one, also made in April of 2008. Okay, let's go ahead and power this one up. It's pretty well the same reaction. Might be a little brighter. But I do note that this does not appear distorted, so that tends to lead me to believe that there is something to the theory that the power supply is not good enough for this. Yep, exactly the same problem. I think it might get a little bit brighter. That's about all it has going for it. And I guarantee you that when we go over to this and try and install it, we'll get the same reaction out of it. Yep, it does not see it at all. Unit number 3. Yeah, I'm starting to get the idea that the problem is not the units themselves, it is the power supply. So, we'll probably have to revisit these at some later time to correctly ascertain what the actual issue is. Can't imagine my power supply is really up to this. I'm surprised that it's even lasted this long. Anyway, I think the only thing left to do now is tear one of these apart, so let's do that. When we take the back off, we see an LCD monitor, pretty much. They definitely go out of their way to hide what all is going on here. I'm going to have to see if I can get some of these screws out. And here we have the magic within. This is the inverter board over here. Those of you who have taken apart an LCD monitor are probably fairly familiar with this. This is basically nothing more than, well, I think this is your high voltage for the inverter for the CCFL backlight. That's all that is. So you don't want to touch that. That would be a pretty stupid thing to do. Looks like it's in a decent shape. And here's, of course, the controller. Oh, supporting logic in there. Some sort of ROM chip. These two go out to various control boards. And so do these. These also go to control boards. This is also another control, which goes down here to this thing. So this down here is the processing board for this thing. Well, actually, that's mostly for all of the advanced features, the touch screen and whatnot. You can see there's two, it looks like 2 LVDS cables, kind of. And yeah, those would be LVDS. Presumably that one's for the actual display, and then this one over here is for the touch screen. Or maybe it's the other way around. Not really a whole lot. I was expecting some... I was actually expecting quite a bit more. This thing is a lot heavier than you'd really expect, so... in a way, it's almost disappointing. This is nothing more than an LCD display, but oh well. So if you're ever wondering what was inside one of these things, well, now you know. I wish I could go into a little bit more of a technical detail on this, but I don't know any of the technical details. Like I said, this isn't my... it's not my job, so I don't really know anything about these. If anybody does, please feel free to leave your comments in the videos, in the comments down below. I think that's pretty much it. What brand capacitors are these pieces of junk anyway? EMM, PET. Do they have a brand on them? They should, somewhere. I can't see Elite. Yeah, Elite branded, it looks like. That one. Actually, they're all Elite branded. Yeah, Elite Failures is more like it. Cheap capacitors. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the video. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below. And this is CP666 signing off. I hope to see you next time. Until then, hopefully I can get this back together.